Okay, here we go. And also,
yes, if you were wondering, BigTuck is drinking, what do they call that in prison?
Oh, hooch juice? Hooch juice?
Or it's not hooch juice, it's like, I think it's just hooch.
No, hold on, what is that called? Prison
swill,
wine.
Prison.
Well, I think something.
Anyway, guys, welcome to episode 111. That is 111 of CMD Towers Brews and Builds. I'm MrComboNumber5 and my fellow host, who is not a waste of space, BigTuck.
Thank you so much. This is not Hooch Shoots. It's actually, I told you about my time in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, when I got like the 2 mason jars of sample.
Oh, yeah.
So I forgot I had this. I was drunk and spent like $60. Yes.
Question, was it samples or was it Snapples?
Ooh, interesting. It does kind of look like a Snapple here, but check this out. So this is a Bloody Mary. They sell a cornbread jalapeno moonshine.
Gross.
And then their own Bloody Mary mix, and they give you a jar, gave me one. By that, they went into the back and grabbed one. And it shows you how much to fill the jalapeno cornbread and how much to fill the Bloody Mary mix up to. So
I'm pretty sure that those instructions just look like some drunk took a black Sharpie and just kind of did this.
I think if you look pretty close, it's probably close to that. I think instead of a drunk, it was an 18-year-old kid who was scared when I was yelling at him about these sort of things. But I wanted to have a couple drinks on the show as I do because I'm going on a second date tonight. And we added some parking lots, smooch sessions, the Kissing Bandits back. I did round 2 at Noda Brewing, and then I had a brand new one, which was a City Park parking lot makeout. And then
were they homeless?
Maybe.
Specifically for the City Park.
I don't think so. She does drive a Scion XB or whatever that like box thing is.
Oh, so she's stuck in 2005. Okay.
Yeah, dude, it's a 2016. It's the same year as my Forerunner. I didn't know they still made those.
Whoa.
But anyways, the last thing I'll say on that is we were, enjoying each other's company. You would have liked this. This is a very MrComboNumber5 date. She wanted to go to a park and like walk around, so I got a charcuterie spread, gluten-free or lactose-free, and a little wine. She's lactose intolerant, I don't know, whatever. And then the mustard from the National Mustard Museum I went to when I was on my road trip, went out like gangbusters. But then, so I like dropped her off for her car because she like parked and walked for some reason. And we were like smooching a little bit in the Forerunner, which is the best place to smooch. And then like some jagoff opens up his garage and comes like staring at us. He must have been like the president of the HOA or something. And it was like high school over again. It's like, oh, I guess it's the end of the date. Like, hi, asshole. We'll see you later. So we're going to see, we're going to go see the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So that's that. And then the last thing I want to say before I turn the mic over to you is I have listened. So remember how I told you about like this content, right? I watched Malignant. I have clocked in over 6 hours of content off of it, and I still think it's a bad movie. So anyways, I just want to put a coat on that. How are you, sir? I know you're well rested.
Yeah.
Inside joke.
Yeah.
We don't need to.
Inside joke. So I'm glad you saw the error of your ways with Malignant. That movie was terrible.
I think it's bad, yeah. I don't think we have time to litigate it right now, but...
No, we don't. But I would highly advise, even for free, do not watch.
I think it's worth I don't know. I think it's still worth a watch. If you're having a couple beers and some friends over.
Yeah, if you're looking to see like a more violent version of Neo fighting, yes, go ahead and watch this movie.
Which is no spoilers because it's impossible to. But anyways, how are you doing? What's going on in your world?
Preparing for Italy.
That's right.
When this episode airs, I will be on a plane. I think to Atlanta or to New York, then to Florence.
Oh yeah.
But it's been decent. I spent this morning with my buddy that I'm going to Italy with. We started booking our Airbnb experiences.
Oh.
BigTuck, you're a travel guy. Have you ever gone to the experience section of the Airbnb app?
No, I didn't know that was an option.
I'm telling you, man, you need to go in. Listen to some of the experiences we're going to do while we're in Italy.
I thought you were saying you were just now booking your Airbnbs for Italy. I was like, that seems awfully late in the game to do this, but...
No. This one is $38 a person. It's a 2-hour tour of the dark side of Florence.
Whoa!
So they'll take you through the bloodiest parts of the Middle Ages, the late Renaissance, crimes, plots, punishments, all of that kind of stuff. So we're doing that one night. Another day, we're actually, for an entire afternoon, going to have a Italian chef host a private pasta making class for us.
This is all through Airbnb?
All through Airbnb.
Whoa.
So we're going to make raviolis, angel hair, all of that stuff. Another day, we're obviously going to do a massive Tuscan wine tasting. I think we're going to go through like 6 or 7 different wineries.
Wow.
And then one that I did special is we're actually spending a couple days in Rome. So I booked one that's called The Secret Dinner in the Heart of Rome, which I'm very excited for because apparently there's a cooking show over there where it's people's restaurants, but they actually do it out of their homes and it's all like private tastings.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And apparently this gal made it into like the top 4 in Italy. So that'll be pretty fun. So yeah,
that's awesome.
You love to travel.
I do.
I would highly encourage you, even if you're not using an Airbnb, wherever you're going, just type in the city and the dates and go to the experiences. You'll find random things that you never even thought of.
And I travel by myself a lot, so I'm always looking for like group activities and those sort of things. Have you watched the show Master of None before? With Aziz Ansari?
Absolutely love it. I have not seen the new season.
Okay, it's trash. New season's no good. But if you want my opinion, I would rewatch the second season first episode that's all in black and white when he goes to Italy, because I think he does like pasta making and stuff like that.
Yeah, he does.
Might be a good way to set the mise en scène, which is like the way that the play looks. So just an idea.
Well,
there.
I will tell you this. I will be setting my mise en scène by watching Squid Games crossing the Atlantic, because what better way to get into Italian food eating than a Korean
Battle Royale
Netflix show about children's games, but we're actually murdering each other.
I know that's like the hot thing right now on the interwebs and the TikToks and whatnot. I have no interest in watching that show whatsoever. So if you say it's good though, that means it's probably good. Or if you say it's good, it means it's probably, well, with this one, with TV shows, you're usually, I respect your opinion on TV shows to the degree that you give them. So far, like the TV shows that you have given, like, here's a good example, like Doom Patrol, right? You're like, yeah, it's good. And I watched it and I was like, yeah, it's good. And like Mandalorian.
Did you see the new season came out?
No, I haven't. I am so far behind. The only thing I don't like about Doom Patrol is there's like 23 episodes a season, which normally is good, but I'm like, come on, like I want to get to season 2 where I guarantee the effects are better. I'm done with this plot line. So no, I haven't watched very little TV. I've been watching my spooky movies. So there you go.
Well, if you guys would like to help us out financially, so that way we can continue to improve the content that we deliver, head over to our Patreon, patreon.com/CMDTower. We have several different tiers that go from $1 a month to $5 to $15 to $25, and you get everything from a bunch of soft value stuff, access into the Discord, entered in for deck therapy. You get submitted for voices, which, awesome enough, Hamburgerdemonpoop
Classic
did the voices for us this episode. So thank you so much. And of course, one thing everyone's very excited for, I did see BigTuck, the ugly holiday sweater.
Nice.
Got to see the finished product, a picture of it. They're supposed to be shipping me a real one, I believe, so that way I can feel it.
Right.
But it looks pretty damn great.
Send it over to me. Text it to me.
Yeah, I absolutely am going to right now. So, and, you know, even be able to get an extra discount on that. So make sure you join, because this is what's going to enable us to constantly improve the content that we're putting out. Now, if you're already an existing patron and would like to refer someone to join the collective, have them message us on Patreon. We give referrals. So no matter what tier they sign up for, whether they're getting RK Post exclusive tokens or CMD Tower merch, we're going to give you something, whether it's something as simple as signing a card that you may want us to do, getting an
gold bordered, obviously.
God, go to hell. Even actually getting some physical merch. So be sure if you're an existing patron that you grow the collective. Now, if you guys can't afford a monthly subscription, but you would like to get your hands on our merchandise, head over to our store, cmdtower.com/merch. We do sell everything on there, but contractually obligated, there is a redacted bit. Now, of course, You can just share the content you're watching and listening to, because every little bit of interaction from the collective does help. And want to give a big shout out to our audio and video editor at _tcoats. Tyler does the audio editing for Brews and Builds and all the video editing here at CMD Tower. Definitely hit him up. He's always looking to grow and learn. So if there are things that you would like to see done differently on Brews and Builds, please let us know. Our editor would love to hear your ideas. Now, Brews and Builds is our deck tech series. Since we conquered the path to 32, the 12 themes of EDH decks, we have moved on to the classic brew from day one Brews and Builds with a traditional episode. So we describe the brewing of these decks similar to how beer is brewed. So we broke it down into 4 different categories. The first one's ramp and setting your board state. That is grain.
And grains are the foundation of every beer. They include both base malts and specialty malts, usually in a 60-40 ratio. This helps with the color, the taste, and most importantly, the alcohol content of a beer. Decks needs ways to grow, stabilize, and ramp in your bigger threats, and just like a grain profile, they're usually a mix of staples and specialty cards.
And then how does your board interact with all of your opponents? We call that hops.
And hops give the beer its patented bitterness and herbal floral flavors. They grow in a variety of strands and don't exist at all in these White Claws that I've been drinking because they're easier and a little lower calorie. Our hop choices help clear and interact with the board so your deck can ultimately do what it wants.
And then how does your deck actually close out and win games? We call that yeast.
And yeast are living microorganisms that eat the sugar and poop out alcohol and CO2. It adds alcohol content and carbonation, which are in these White Claws. Without yeast, you'd be drinking flat sugar water. And without yeast cards, your deck wouldn't meet the goal of actually winning the game.
And then we have one of my favorite sections, shenanigans. These can be pet cards, random synergies that are in the deck that are just kind of fun. We call that spice.
And not every beer has them, but spices and other additives help separate a normal stock beer from a specialty one. It could be the pepper that turns a jalapeno. Blah. It could be the jalapeno cornbread moonshine that turns this Bloody Mary into me not being able to speak straight, or the additional hops that turn an IPA into a double IPA. And every deck has something that makes it pop, but if it does, this is where we generally talk about it.
And then to cap it off, we have redundancy, a bottle capping. These are going to be big customized cuts and adds to the deck that are going to be under $5, under $50, and a no budget recommendation. We just can't talk about mana-only lands. So without further ado, let's get brewing. Mr. Combo number 5 here is going to be filling in.
Back to basics, baby.
Back to basics. Too bad it's not in a blue deck.
To the OG.
Too bad we're not talking about a blue deck today, or we would be talking back to basics. No, we're talking about my colorless deck. And I bet you know what sexy legends we're talking. Eldrazi's, because it's kind of like one of the only options outside of like Traxos and
Karn is kind of up there if you're going straight.
I guess Karn.
He's kind of played out though, but
so we're talking about KOZILEK doesn't believe in watercolors. He says, fuck watercolors. He fucking hates
I don't
them.
need them.
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
It's only gray trees. I'm only doing gray tattoos, gray ink, that's it.
If you're a colored permanent, I'm going to counter you. I'm going to get rid of you because we are talking about the great distortions.
You about to draw some PC police on us. Good thing with colored permanents, not another P word potentially. Ooh.
Oh, God. BigTuck, why don't you read off its CMC, power and toughness, and what the hell this thing does?
Yeah, so KOZILEK the Great Distortion is actually, I think, one of, if not the most affordable Eldrazi Titans in price. He's about $15, and that's probably for the foil-ish. I can't tell a TCG player, but he is not in mana cost because he is 8 colorless and 2 diamonds, 2 colorless as well. It's so stupid. This is the set that ruined it for all of us, and we're never going to see it again. So he is a legendary creature, Eldrazi. He is a mythic, and he's a big boy coming in at a 12/12. When you cast KOZILEK the Great Distortion, and cast is a big distinction on these Titans. It's not enter the battlefield. If you have fewer than 7 cards in hand, draw cards equal to the difference. He has Menace. And then finally, he has discard a card with converted mana cost X, counter target spell with converted mana cost X. And there is a little bit of flavor text that's going to be read by Sharash, Keeper of the Cowl, a.k.a. an old-timey gangster. Now, see here. You see what I mean? Avoid as cryptic as reality itself, see? Meet it, boy! Top of the stack!
So, here's an interesting thought I just had. I'm pretty sure you could run KOZILEK in any color deck, right?
You absolutely could.
Okay.
The only thing that you have to have mana rocks that produce colorless.
Yes.
So, hypothetically, in like some green decks, he might be uncastable. Because everything's
So I was just thinking, though, because I have this aversion to single-use card draw spells. Should I just put a KOZILEK the Great Distortion in every deck that I own? Because, yeah, it's card draw, but at least I get a 12/12 out of it, and a menace, and a counter guy.
I think you already did that with the OG KOZILEK, didn't you?
Yes, as a anti-Mill-Me plan.
Ah, right. And then occasionally draw some cards.
Yeah.
So I also did a little bit of research. I thought that we might have missed it. And we were like, oh wait, this is finally our colorless deck, but I forgot we did the Goads friendly Emrakul deck in very, very big quotation marks.
Yes, very friendly. What was that, episode 32? 33?
I just had that up. It was down there.
I think it was
51.
Oh, 51. Okay.
51, yeah.
So, yeah, this is my colorless deck. I'm going to say it doesn't really have a shape. It's like a little bit of Eldrazi. It's a little bit of Artifact. It's a little bit of just like big colorless spells.
Yeah.
So, I think that's the biggest challenge to it. But also, I think it not really having an identity is what has made it into this decent, I would call it 60% deck, where for the most part, that kind of loosey-goosey theme has actually helped me to where I usually always have stuff to counter other spells with.
Right.
And I'm never like, oh, well, I shouldn't do this. It's like, well, I got other strategies. I don't care if I get rid of my best living in the red zone card, because now I can go this other route instead.
Right.
So, but it's not one that I play hardly ever. I will admit that. But it is one that I have the funnest altar sleeves on. If you guys go to altarsleeves.com, look up the Eldrazi's, and they do these very cool where it's like the CIA redacted camcorder footage where they have like black lines over the flavor text and stuff like that. And the Eldrazi's will look, it's all like legit redacted.
Redacted, yes, I was going to say. Yeah, and I think I've seen you play this deck a handful of times, and I think it really, this also goes to your deck style, because the times that I've seen it not do anything is when you can't cast your commander.
Yeah.
Because I also had a very similar build with Emrakul the Promised End, and I eventually dismantled it because it was kind of that same thing, right? Like, these Eldrazi's are so heavily costed, you have to run like every artifact under the sun to get them out.
Which I do.
And then yeah, absolutely, right? And you see that like the 35 grain, 26 hops, some of which are lands. Like you have lands scattered all through here because you can just run every colorless one.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. But I think, it does make it difficult because you're like, well, I guess if I'm running all these artifacts, I might as well run artifact friendly synergies. But then like you can kind of get pulled away from that. So the Mr. Combo brought up a great point earlier, which is hysterical when you're looking at the CMC. It's the CMC is a little high at 5.9,
just a little,
which makes sense for Eldrazi.
Hold on, 5.09.
09, yes, that's a
very big difference.
Yes, very big difference there. But he does have at least a card from mana cost 0 to 13, which is pretty great.
I'm countering everything, baby, except for Draco.
And I have seen you. Like I said, once you get your boy out, once you get Kazi out, it does definitely slow down the game a lot. And the fact that he's got his menace and he's a 2-turn clock for commander damage, he is powerful. I think where I've seen you stall out is when you don't get mana draws or you run out of cards in hand and that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, pretty much the way that this deck has run the most efficient. Now everyone's gonna roll your eyes. Oh, Mr. Combo. Well, that's just how decks, like, of course if a deck does that, it works. Listen, I built the deck so it works this way. The deck works the best when I'm able to get KOZILEK out turn 5 and earlier.
Yeah.
Now, everyone would, once that, like I said, roll your eyes, of course you'd like your 10 drop turn 5 or earlier. But to Tuck's point, I have 32 artifacts in this deck.
Yeah.
Almost all of them are grades. They are ramping me the hell out. So a normal opening hand should be 3 lands and 3
mana rocks. Yeah.
Yep. So that's why the turn 5 or earlier should work. And that's where, Tuck, you've seen me in games where I stalled out. It was probably in ones where I didn't have a lot of mana rocks. Mm-hmm. And they were probably hands that had a lot of great things in them. But in my head, it's like, well, I'm so saturated in mana rocks I can keep a risky hand with none because I know I'll draw into it, and then I end up whiffing, which, that happens in Commander.
It happens. But I think, like, to your point, the curve in here is such that you have to run all those artifacts, because even if you're not casting your Commander, you're still casting 7-8 drops, and if you only do one of those a turn, you kind of stall out on that too.
Bad.
Yeah, that's real bad. Last thing, price point is about your range, is about $1,000. It's between 700, Swift and 700, 1,000. You do go through and add in all of your foils and everything and your alternate arts, which I am way too lazy to do, so it's probably a little lower than that if you don't want to go that way. But you kind of have to spend, if you want to run artifacts decks and colorless decks, you kind of have to pay the piper for the top end stuff.
Yeah, unfortunately there's no way of getting around like a mana crypt or don't want to give anything away with the other cards. But let's get into this, Tuck. Let's start with our grain section. My first card is a card that is amazing. It probably should see way more play than it does, but its price point probably keeps it from there. It's great because it's in that sweet Manalith space, but technically it's just a better Manalith because it reduces
yes, it does.
all
Here
of
we
a
go.
certain type by one colorless. 3, 2, 1...
Cloud Key! Cloud Key is 3 colorless for an artifact. As it comes into play, choose artifact, creature, enchantment, instant, or sorcery. Spells you play of the chosen type cost 1 less to play. And Mr. Combo, there is some words to be read here by your favorite, Nicol Bolas, the pompous British man.
Oh, God.
Come on, just think of like Peaky Blinders, mate.
The musical sound.
There you go, yeah.
Turning triggers. The tumblers of revelation.
Perfect. That Tumblers is right what we're looking for.
So yeah, this card, Cloud Key, Tuck, I'm kind of shocked we don't see it played in more decks, but I'm assuming it's because it's between $3.50 and $10. It's just like kind of expensive.
It's a lot. It did just get reprinted and Time Spiral remastered, so that's why it's gotten down a little low. But yeah, it's just really solid. I think that the argument would be made that if you're playing enchantments or if you're more linear in what you're looking for, there might be other cards that are more consistent or do something else. But one thing I really like about this card in here is that I think a lot of people would play it and just name creatures to dump down your creature cost, right? But I think the actual play is artifacts, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's
like
always
every
artifacts.
time.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, playing out your mana rocks for 1 mana less, I mean, that puts a lot of your 2s to 1s, your 3s to 1, your 3s and lowers.
Yep.
Will let you be able to do some stuff with
Go
some of your more fun stuff.
rock into rock.
Exactly. And into value train, into all that other stuff, which will leave you open mana to maybe activate a few things or be able to play around with it a little bit more like that.
Yeah, because like a big thing with this deck, guys, is this is actually a deck that you don't want to have a hand a lot of the time.
Yes, right.
Because you want to be able to cast KOZILEK and get a full 7 off of that 10 mana investment.
Right.
Nothing feels worse than casting KOZILEK and drawing 2 cards.
Yep.
So being able to reduce all your mana rocks and go rock into rock, pass is way better than saying creature and maybe getting your 7 drop down for 6, but then you're just passing the turn and you still have 3 other cards in hand. So.
Yeah, I completely agree. And also, it's not like in this deck you're going to be playing a lot of stuff at instant speed, so you're kind of like, all right, like everything I have is on the table.
Yep. All right, Tuck, what is your next grain?
So this is a really fun one because it's like, it's really cute because it does the 2 things that this deck needs. It needs ramp you and also can kind of be a removal. So this is one of the few non-Eldrazi creatures in the deck that's a guardian of some sort of thing. Here we are, 3, 2, 1. Golden Guardian.
4 colorless artifact creature golem rare.
And there is a flip over. So I guess I'll read it and then I'll read the flip as well. So it's a 4/4 defender with 2 colorless. Golden Guardian fights another target creature you control. When that Golden Guardian dies this turn, return it to the battlefield transformed under your control as well. And
we'll pause there. So the reason that I run Golden Guardian in this deck, usually I would say you're going to see this probably played in your Aristocrat decks, decks that may have like a Death Touch type of effect. It's some way that you're easily, killing that the Golden Guardian, or you just want to be able to kill your own stuff. I have it in here because almost all of my creatures are going to have greater than 4 power and toughness. So it's basically 2 mana, it dies, and turns into the other side.
Yes, and the other side is tap 2 colorless. You get 2 colorless added to your mana pool. And then it also has a really strong utility of 4 colorless tap, create a 4/4 golem artifact creature token. It does have a little bit of flavor text, which is another British woman. This is Elizabeth Swan from Pirates of the Caribbean. An army of living gold for the Golden City parlay. Oh, I'm Keira Knightley.
So one thing to note is that it is add 2 mana of any one color to your
any
mana
one
pool.
color.
So Tuck,
Thank you.
So Tuck did talk about it earlier, though, so this is important to note. If you have Goldforge Garrison down and you need 2 colorless for something, this will not produce it for you.
Right?
So if you need diamonds, you're not going to get it off of this. But, I mean, we do run 11 actual wastes in the deck, so we should never be hurting for diamonds.
You should have it, right.
I just wanted to point that out. But yeah, basically, this reads, you're going to do a total of a 6 mana investment, and then you either get the option of a Soul Ring or the option of a Golem Factory.
Producer, which again, I think is really... 4 mana for that cost is pretty low, and a lot of times you just need stuff on the board to slow down tokens or a commander, even if you know it's just going to get run underfoot.
Yep, totally agree. All right, well, since Tuck can't seem to have his own original ideas, I think I finally got one that he will not be sharing.
I don't know.
All right, so for my last one, Tuck kind of hit on it. He hit on it that I have a lot of lands and not the land section. I actually only have 18 lands in my land section versus the 35 in the deck. So that does mean I have 17 utility lands in here. But here's the issue. Most utility lands make you sacrifice them or destroy them.
Oh, sure.
So I want ways to be able to reuse my utility lands as often as I possibly can. So Crucible of the Worlds...
Ah, yes.
...is actually amazing for this deck, even though we're not doing land matters in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
So, Crucible of Worlds, 3 colorless artifact. It's a rare. The copy I have, low end's about $40.
Oh, God.
You may play land cards from your graveyard as though they were in your hand, and there is some flavor text.
Yes, and it's loading. Oh, also, we did, for those playing the home game, we did finally break through 50... names, so now they're randomly picked by the random name picker. So we got Hannah, the Mad Hatter.
Amidst the darkest ashes grow the strongest seeds, Alice. Oh, God. So yeah. So here's kind of the cool thing about this. Usually you run Crucible Worlds in decks where it's like you're trying to get lots of landfall triggers. I don't give a shit about any of that. What I do care about, though, and Tuck has seen this, and this is where this deck really does flourish, is having Crucible of the Worlds out and having, like, I don't know, just Myriad Landscape.
Yep.
I literally Myriad Landscape every other turn, and I'm always mana flooded. I think I've run out of wastes in my deck multiple times that I've played. But the flip side is things like, let's just go... no one's going to talk about it. Strip Mine.
Sure.
That's in a hop. So... it's been nice because since I'm not in a Land Matters deck, actually when I have Crucible out there, it's always the person that would be the most destroyed by it that gets the most scared. Everyone else is very much like, all right, whatever, like that's fine, I guess. So it actually flies under the radar somewhat. But if you're going to do Crucible in a non-land matter, colorless is about the only way you could do it because you have the flexibility to run every single flipping colorless link.
Completely agree. And we actually talked about this when you built this the first time around, because I think you built this when I had just moved back to Kansas City. And my first thing, literally the first words on my mouth, like, you have like 14 wastes in here. You should have like 4. And then you were like, no, I actually run a lot of ways to tutor for them. I have a lot of ways that the basic land type matters more than whatever else that the thing could do. And I'll be honest with you, when I saw you play this, that actually came true pretty quickly. Like you had all of these different packages that let you go tutor for basics. And if you're only running 2 or 4 wastes, then all of those are going to be meaningless because you're going to hit them and then you're going to fail to find way faster.
Yep. Totally agree. All right, Tuck, give me your last grain.
So this is a great card it's a card that I think we were really excited about when it first got printed, and then it kind of didn't really find a use for our decks. And I do like it a lot in here because it's going to let you build up for some explosive turns down the way. So Horizon Zone. 5 colorless for an artifact. If you would lose unspent mana, that mana becomes colorless instead, and I assume that means you keep it, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so it all stacks on here. So there's also a whole long thing here. Okay, thank God. We have the Kudros, which is a gimme. Lisa Kudrow coming in hot. Crufitz once dreamed like he traveled beyond the city of the world to like an unfamiliar land, Smelly Cat. Curious, he picked up a rock and awoke to find that it had followed him home from the dreams into reality. Friends suck. So I think the big thing here with this, thing is as soon as you have this down, this is going to give you something to do, quote unquote, every turn, right? So even if because you're not going to, with a few exceptions, you're not really holding up your mana. So if you're like, well, I could cast one card this turn, be completely tapped out and susceptible to some sort of board wipe or removal or whatever the case may be, now I can just dump all that, put it on Horizon Stone, and then the turn after have it much more explosive, right? And there's cards in here that will let you do this much more efficiently, which you may or may not get to here in a little bit. But I think for a 5-mana investment in an already heavy artifact deck, this is going to really let you catch up and keep up with, or at least be in parity with like the green players and people who are playing also a ton of mana rocks as well.
Yeah, I agree on all points. And the thing that's hurt the most in this deck, because I do so many of those utility lands, is like, we'll just stay with the Myriad Landscape example. You play Myriad Landscape, but it comes in tapped, but you don't have anything to use 2 mana on. And so it's like... I mean, I guess I'll turn off this turn and essentially my next turn, because I'll have to use that 2 mana. So Horizon Stone actually, for a lot of the cards in the deck, you know, like the Myriad Landscapes of the Worlds, or even go as bad as like your Dreamstone Hedrons of the world, it very much turns into... well, I can save the mana for later because I don't have the optimal play right now. You're never going to do anything broken off of it. It's not like you're generating a bunch of mana on everyone's turn and dumping it into an X spell, which kind of, I think this deck being colorless and not having black in it or green or even red actually helps it become less threatening almost. Yeah, everyone's scared of Eldrazi's, but there isn't a... Blue Sun Zenith that could come out of nowhere.
Right.
Isn't, like Teferi's Protection. It's just very like, I don't know, like peanut butter and jelly. It's just very simple.
Yeah. And I think something that I've noticed a lot recently when I've been playing with the group here, maybe it's unique to that, but like you almost get a disadvantage for coming out super explosive in like a 4-player game. I think we've talked about this a little bit, right? Where it's like, you're going to now have the target, not because you're doing things that are crazy, but just because you're doing things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think this deck is going to be one of those that will be able to sit around for 3 or 4 turns, not be interacted with, and start building up for your later turns, unless someone is like super spooked out and just rams into you before you even have your board state.
Sure.
So to your point, like just sitting around and dumping 2 mana here, 3 mana here into this thing is going to be this great bank that you'll be able to withdraw from and pump out your big threats when everyone else has kind of depleted their resources or are vulnerable.
Yep, you got it.
Yeah.
Well, guys, that's going to wrap up the grain section. Now we're going to head over to the hot profile. And Tuck, why don't you start us off? Maybe we'll continue this crazy string of unique thoughts. What is your first hop card?
So you have a couple of Planeswalkers in here. I thought you didn't have one of them, which was in the... grain section, but you trounced me on that, which I'm proud of. I think this is one of the Planeswalkers that you used to like a lot, and then had taken it out of your Super Friends deck, if I remember correctly. And that's one of the Karns, the OG Karn, Karn Liberated. Do I need to get the Rattler?
No, of course not.
Oh, okay. So Karn Liberated is a 7-drop Planeswalker, which you could play on turn 3 using your Urza's rigmaroles. So it comes in with 6 loyalty and it has 3 activated abilities. So +1, target player exiles a card from his or her hand. So that's okay-ish in a 4-player game. It's not that backbreaking. I imagine what you're really playing it for is the -3, which is just exile target permanent for 7, which is pretty strong.
Well,
and then it does...
Tuck, think about it. It's basically Scour from Existence.
Yes. And actually, I just swapped out Scour from Existence with another card because I was like, wait, I don't need to talk about both of these things. Because it just does it repeatedly. And then if you do plus it 2 times and it doesn't get attacked and you get another turn, you can -14 reset the game, leaving in exile all non-aura permanents exiled Karn Liberated, then put these cards into the battlefield under your control. I mean, I'm guessing you've never done that before.
So the whole reason I have Karn in this deck, and the whole reason I have a couple of them, is right when you got me first into Magic and I was playing in Memphis, I saw at the LGS someone pretty frequently go infinite with Karn and Chainveil.
Oh, really?
Exile the entire board, then reset the game. And I thought that was so cool. But then, as I became a better Magic player, I was like, oh, well, if I can go infinite, I can actually just win the game, not just restart the game. So Karn's, it's in here because it's colorless. It's a removal, and that's one thing that colorless has an issue of is removal. Very much like how Black struggles with enchantment removal specifically. Colorless just doesn't have it. So it's a removal spell, and it is something that, hey, it's a big planeswalker to where it's going to come in. It's probably going to be at 10 loyalty after 1/1. Mm-hmm. Most of your opponents don't have 10 power to just take out a planeswalker. So it's usually living a few turns. And I'll tell you, most people, if it's like, hey, what are you going to do with that? And it's like, I'm just here to keep people honest. I won't do the -14. Most people won't ever hit it because it's one of those walkers that it's already at ult range, immediately. And do you really want to invest all your resources to get it to 4 just so it can get get right back up?
Well, and to your point, people actually probably don't want this to how can I say this? Oh wait, damn it. I just had a thought where it's Sorry, I just completely was trying to blank. It's something where there's some sort of optimal range in here where it's always sort of threatening to go to ultimate and then someone knocks it down but never quite gets there. Because if you're picking out, I don't know, I can't think. It's if you're picking out other people's hands and exiling permanents, they want it to not ultimate anyway. So yeah, I agree. Unless someone plays unless someone has horrible baggage from Modern and they've gotten blown out by this card, they're gonna be like, okay, cool, yeah, you got it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, my first Hops card. So a lot of Eldrazi's have a really, really cool effect. That when they attack, the opponent has to sacrifice a couple permanents.
Sure.
But, sometimes there can be things to prevent you from sacrificing. We saw with Frenemy Dan Sigarda. It shockingly became relevant how often we couldn't make him sacrifice her. But that still goes to the graveyard even. So even if they can sacrifice, maybe they want to sacrifice and it'll just go to the yard. How about we make them exile those permanents instead? So we are going to talk about Bane of Bala Jed.
Oh, that's so good.
7 colorless. It's a 7/5 for under $1. Creature Eldrazi. It's an uncommon. Whenever Bane of Bala Jed attacks, defending player exiles 2 permanents he or she controls. And then I got cursed with a paragraph of text.
It's a big one. This is, you could throw out your voice here, but this is Uta Falconwrath, which is the Christian Bale varietal of Batman.
The continent of Balagon was ravaged by massive Eldrazi of Ulamog's lineage. Its lofty juggles and cascading rivers reduced to dust.
How do you feel after that?
I feel like throwing up.
I was gonna say, does your throat hurt?
So yeah, I absolutely love this.
I feel like I'm gonna throw up.
I halfway do. Not even joking. So this is basically Annihilator. It just, instead of making them sacrifice, it's making them put them into exile, which we've talked about it before, where there's cards that are exile off the top of your opponent's library, and then you may cast that spell. There is power in exiling things that you have no intention of bringing back to the game.
Yeah.
And so being able to have a 7/5 body, it's not going to have as big of a butt, which kind of sucks. It doesn't have any type of evasion, which kind of sucks, but it does make him exile 2 permanents. And, you can't ever get tricksy and focus all your hate with this at one person, but make someone else exile the permanents. It has to be the person you're attacking. So, with the small butt, it is going to die eventually, but it'll do some work for 7.
I agree. It's really strong. I like this kind of, who knows when we're going to see Eldrazi again, but I think this is the only one that has this sort of exile annihilator thing. So if we see, I think this is a more fair version of Annihilator to some extent because it's only 2 and most of them are 4 or more. It doesn't have an evasion, so I think this card's really efficient for what it does. I have recurring nightmares because if I remember correctly, enemy of the cast Mikhail had a Brutaclad deck where he'd make like 15 of these things and then just swing out for you. Horrifying, absolutely horrifying.
Seems like most of your horrifying stories of the Kansas City Playgroup are when you first moved here and first played with Mikhail.
Literally, it was like the first time we played. He played like one fun deck, and it was just all downhill from there.
It's all downhill from here.
Who's
All
that?
right,
Newfound Glory?
I think so.
Yeah.
What's your second hops card?
All right, so this one's kind of basic. This was kind of hard to choose for me because there is so many different. There's a lot of options in here that do the same thing, and I'm still like, I gotta go with I guess I gotta go with my gut here because originally I was gonna talk about Scar from Existence, but instead I want to bring up a card that I don't know if we've talked about. It is a ramp card, but also like Karn does something else. So it's an Obelisk. That might be a little shaky. So Unstable Obelisk is super efficient removal on a good mana rock. So some people would say it's better manalith. 3 colorless for an artifact. It's an uncommon for about 10 cents. It has tap, add 1 mana to your mana pool. That's a colorless or a diamond. So there you go. And then 7, sacrifice it, destroy target permanent. And we do have some flavor text. Hold please while it loads. Thanks, Class. Big shout out to our sponsors, ClassTools.net, for giving us this terrible wheel that just gets completely pummeled by the internet because it's designed by a bunch of morons. But here we are. Okay, we got Garruk Wildspeaker, which is a Young Rock. So I'm trying to think, is this from the TV show Young Rock or just like when he was still wrestling?
Still wrestling.
Still wrestling. Okay, so. Its collapse is like the bereft of a long-dead civilization that resents being forgotten. So yeah,
I was lashing, not laughing.
Oh, what did I say?
It'd be real weird if the collapse is like the laughing out of a long dead civilization that resents being forgotten. Like, we hate being forgotten.
That's way darker. Yeesh. So, like I said, I think this is a card that is probably criminally underplayed. You just said yourself that there's a lot of things that deal with, having troubles with artifacts, having trouble with enchantment, having trouble with creatures destroying them, and this is being a land, for God's sakes, right? This is the fact that for the same amount of money or same amount of cost as your Unstable Obelisk at all, this card's going to do the same thing, and you don't even have to use it, right? It's still on curve as a mana rock. It comes into play untapped. Just tons of utility out of this 10-cent card.
Yeah, no, you hit everything on the head. It's manalith mana. Produces mana, but has an alternate effect. So,
right.
I don't think I would run this in a 3-color or more deck, but I think 2-color or less, I would probably do it. Yeah,
totally agree. Especially if it's like black, blue, or something like that, where you just don't have any sort of, you can bounce stuff but don't have a lot of destroy. So yeah. So pretty meat potatoes, much like this deck, like you were just saying, or peanut butter and jelly, if you will.
Well, my second card, part of this deck is I'm going to be discarding. That's how I counter.
Yeah.
I can't really do my strategy if other people are making me discard. So this is a land that I think does not see a lot of play.
No.
But it could if you are in a heavy discard playgroup. Nephalia Academy. It's a land that taps for a diamond. It's an uncommon, and it states if a spell or ability an opponent controls causes you to discard a card, you may reveal that card and put it on top of your library instead of putting it anywhere else. And we have a net new voice provided by Hamburgerdemonpoop.
And do you know, have you ever seen Requiem for a Dream?
I haven't. I looked up the YouTube video yesterday. Isn't this just basically like a frazzled old woman? Yeah,
it's like an old woman that's addicted to like speed or something like that. She like takes these like weight loss pills and then like slowly loses her mind. So like there's a lot of shaking, a lot of teeth grinding, that sort of thing. So this is Sarah Goldfarb from Requiem for a Dream. Great pick, Hamburgerdemonpoop.
Read by Aura Academy researcher. May knowledge be our sanctuary.
Yeah, it's hard. That's a tough one. That's a real tough one, especially if you've never seen it before. So, very disturbing movie, by the way.
Nephalia Academy. It's very generic. Yeah. It's not going to. Oh my God, the deck's unlocked. But you cannot have the wheel deck. You cannot have the reduced hand size deck reducing your card availability because you're already doing that
on your own,
by countering stuff. So you got to have a way very similar to how I needed to figure out a way to do that to myself in my Garzazol deck with that infinite combo in the game. How do I discard but not really discard?
And I think the other thing too is that it's for each card that's discarded, right? So for example, if someone does wheel you and you're like, I really need, and you have, let's say you have 5 cards in your hand, right? You're like, well, I actually really need these 3, but I'm okay getting 2 fresh new ones, right? So I'll go ahead and discard the 2, put these 3 back on top, draw those 3, and then draw the 2 off of it. So yeah, I think it doesn't. Do you feel that there's another deck that you can think of off the top of your head that you would put this in outside, unless you were playing a meta that was just fraught with card wheels and that sort of stuff, right?
No.
Yeah.
No, I can't think of a single deck. I mean, maybe I would slot this in my Lord Windgrace deck just because it is land matters, and I can have more flexibility for non-color producing lands, but that's probably even
I agree. And I think the fact that it comes in untapped, there's no disadvantage to running this. There's no, even if you're trying to keep a lot of wastes in, for me, it's an easy thing. This is a valuable ability, doesn't come into play tapped, taps for a diamond.
Well, it's to your point, Tuck. A lot of people run Reliquary Tower when they're not in a deck that's drawing 15 cards a turn. So if you're not in a deck that's constantly doing that, I mean, there might be an argument. I might be actually convincing myself. There might be an argument that you run to Folly Academy if you're running Reliquary Tower in a deck. Yeah. Even if you're in a play group that doesn't do with discard, because why not?
If you have a handful of 15 and someone wheels you, then you're like, all right, well, I can't do anything. Like, Reliquary Tower doesn't help me here, so I kind of like it. All right. I like where your head's at.
And 22 cents, that's pretty cheap.
Yeah, you have one of these lying around.
That's 10% of the price of Reliquary Towers.
So there you go.
All right, Tuck, give us your last top card.
I think you're going to yell at me about this one because I think in the past I've gotten very angry over this card. I have started to warm up to it a little bit more. And for me, this is probably one of, if not the best cards in the deck for disrupting your opponents. And it's a big boy. And it's going to make people very angry because it's going to winnow some voids. It's going to be your void winner.
Oh.
I'm opening up to it. I'm opening up to it. So 9 colorless for an Eldrazi creature that's a mythic. $9, which makes sense because I think it's played fairly often in Commander. It's 11-9.
That's why it makes sense.
Can't cast
$9 because it's a 9 cost with a 9 toughness.
Oh, 9. Gonna work in this deck. So your opponents can't cast spell with even converted mana costs. 0 is even in this case, which is hysterical. But more importantly, your opponents can't block with creatures with even converted mana costs. And I did a little research in the voice list here. We do have an Obnix list, which is good. The bad news is it's one I'm really bad at, which is Oberyn Martell from Game of Thrones. So, okay. He's like, swarthy Spaniard.
You killed my sister!
Banderas.
You killed my daughter!
Yeah. Have you ever seen a wizard fall to his knees?
That's a world fall to his knees.
And learn. No way. Oh my God, what is wrong with me? So here's the best part. It's already zoomed to 110% on the page. So I guess I gotta go a little higher.
And he's like, you want to know something even better? The page, it's on a 6-inch screen. So literally that 110% is just the flavor text.
Before we get into this, I realized that if I actually am working and not wearing my glasses, my eyesight gets significantly worse for like the rest of the day. So I'm just an idiot. It's not like I don't have 3 pairs of glasses in this house. So anyway, back to Void Winnower. It's so I think the 2 things that this deck is really going to suffer through is going to be removal decks, spell slingers,
counter magic,
and then tokens.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
Like the token strategy, because it is so fast. Granted, if you're playing in a table that aren't also playing token decks, people are going to have board wipes. But the fact that this is going to turn off token decks from blocking you is so critical, and is going to block out your mana drains, your counterspells, your arcane denials, your memory lapses, your remands, right? There's just so much that goes into it. And I think when people first see this come out, they're like, whatever, right? Like, okay, fine. that I don't care about that. It's even. So what? But then you look at like people's lists and you're like, oh, that's like where all my removal is.
Yep.
That's where all my utility artifacts are in. Like there's a lot of cards that are important to decks that fit into that even mana cost, even at like the 2-drop space.
I mean, that thinking is like a lot of times why I make the argument for Sword of Feast and Famine, why it's so good.
Yeah.
Because green has a lot of permanent removal, black has permanent removal.
Yep.
So, on top of actually protecting your creature from removal, you get all the other benefits. Same thing with this. It's like, look at it any way you want. Oh, primarily I'm slowing down the tokens because you guys can't block and possibly can't even play some of the cards like Anointed Procession.
Sure.
Because that's an even cost.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then the added benefit is you can't counter me or remove me, or if you want to flip-flop it, whichever way you look at it, Void Winnower is so incredibly powerful. And no, this is not Platinum Angel level of restriction at all, even though technically, if we want to get technical, I mean, just if we want to go there, Platinum Angel only shuts down 20% of magic. Void Winnower shuts down 50% of magic.
Oh.
This seems like more of a feel-bad card than
Sure.
a good old Iona.
Got it. Yeah, I'm here with you.
All right. So, my last one is another boring one, but I like it in this deck because it ties with Crucible of the World, and it's going to hurt an opponent, but no one will ever stop you from doing this, which is interesting. Field of Ruin. Land.
Okay, I was wondering which one you're going to go with.
Uncommon, taps to add a colorless, or 2 tap, sack it, destroy target non-basic land an opponent controls. Each player searches his or her library for a basic land card, puts it onto the battlefield, and shuffles his or her library. So, there's always going to be someone with a non-basic at the table. And considering 3/4 of the table is truly ramping, that's why I said you're only going to have a 25% chance that this ever stops. Like, if you just have this in Crucible of the Worlds and that's all you're doing, no one's ever going to care. I've done this at games where I've done the Field of Ruin strip mine lockdown with Crucible of Worlds.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know what the perception is. It's just the deck being colorless, people aren't that scared of it versus if it had green in it for some reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great. It's super efficient. It's super cheap. I think we've talked before in the past that like every deck should have a graveyard removal. Every deck should have a land removal, even if it is just stapled onto a land. And I think Field of Ruin, to your point, is one of the better ones because it's net zero, right?
Yep.
And back again to your counter argument to my like waste, I guarantee if I played this in my colorless deck, I'd fail to find after using it once, maybe twice. You know what I mean? So having that stack of waste is so good when you're going to do this over and over and over again with your Crucible.
Fair enough. All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap up the hop section, and now we're going to head over to the yeast and how the deck wins. I know me and Tuck have aligned on a few of these. This one's first in the list, and it's probably my favorite aura in all of Magic. So I am talking about Eldrazi Conscription. I absolutely love this card. 8 colorless tribal enchantment, Eldrazi Aura. It's a rare for $13. Enchanted creature gets +10/+10, and has trample and has Annihilator 2, which is the sacrifice that many permanents to the blocking opponent. And who is going to sound like this conscription?
You got your Eily, High Priestess of the Eternal Pilgrims, who's our old pal who I just saw in a documentary, Alanis Morissette.
And how does that sound again?
It's like rain on your wedding day. It's a spree ride.
All right.
All right, hold on. Hold
on. I think I got it. Let's just see if I can do it.
I'll make you a deal.
Hold on. I think I have
got
it.
Okay.
Give me a shot.
Okay.
All right. The Baristas, Eldrazi, Perish and hers, both realms of identities.
Yeah, very good.
Right.
Yeah, totally there.
So,
all right.
It is 8. And you might be saying, Mr. Combo, that seems like a lot to put onto your 10-drop just to try to one-shot someone. You're absolutely right, and that's not why it's in the deck. The reason it's in the deck is because it's cute, and it's an Eldrazi, and there's lots of Eldrazi's. But really, the second thing is that I do have creatures in the deck that eventually it's going to hit a point in the game where they are just so outclassed that it's going to feel bad playing your KOZILEK's Channeler. That's a 4/4 for 5, but that's just basically Soul Ring on a creature. So at least Eldrazi Conscription allows me to take those 5 to 10, let's just call them 5 power or less creatures later in the game and make them relevant like a KOZILEK or an Ulamog.
So I think it's cute. I know you have a soft spot in your heart for this card, and I do like that fact that you can always staple this on something else. And it's just such a beating, right? Trample, Annihilator, like everything you want. I will end up cutting this card. Just like you said, because this card, I don't think...
So wait, Tuck, hold on.
Yes.
Would you not run, for 8 colorless, a 10/10 with Trample and Annihilator too, if it was just like a normal old Eldrazi? I feel like you would. That you would say that's on curve or above curve.
I would. I just don't like the fact that this is going to be you're paying 8 mana and you're going to get 2 for 1 on this every single time. And I don't think it's going to help your commander as much as another card that I'm about to talk about, which I think is the better version of this card in this deck, particularly.
Them be fighting words, but all right.
I know. Hey. I thought I was gonna sneak this next one under your nose as well, but you beat me to the punch on it as well, and you made me really proud building this deck because I thought I'd found some sneakers in here that you might or may not be talking about. But the better version of this, because you can slap it on a lot of bigger things, even if one of them dies, is one of your few equipments in here.
Yes, it is.
That maybe has a matrix around it.
Yes, it does.
And we're not talking about Canoe Reeves here. Ready?
3, 2, 1.
Hedron Matrix. Woo! 4 color.
4 colorless artifact equipment rare.
Okay,
Suck
fair
it.
enough. I was gonna let you run me over here. All right. Hedron Matrix says equipped creature gets +X/+X, where X is its converted mana cost, and it has equip 4. It also has a litany of flavor text that we're gonna be reading through.
Now, Tuck, I might make a recommendation. 150% zoom.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. Hold on. I have to redo this because it just crashed. So hold, please. Thank you again to our sponsor, ClassTools.net. They have a whole lot of useful stuff if you're an ESL teacher and can't get any sort of access to the internet in China. Pretty sure it gets through that. Whew, thank God. This is going to be Dovin, the mumble coach from Waterboy. Hashtag Dovin sucks.
There you go.
I mean, I guess what are you gonna do on it? I think that you're relying on a lot of your big boys in the yeast section here to close the game out, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I think this being able to go from creature to creature to creature, and if that creature dies, you can put it on something else, makes it better than your conscription varietal. Even though it costs the same amount of mana to equip the first time. Which I understand is a cruel irony in this deck.
And the fact that it doesn't even get Annihilator or Trample.
Fine. But most of the ones that you're going to be slapping it onto will have some varietal of that already.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You're right. Hedron Matrix would suck to put on my KOZILEK Channeler, but would be great to put on my...
True.
Bane of
Balagad.
Yeah, or Bane of Balagad. There you go. So, yeah, no, Hedron Matrix is amazing. I mean, I've put it on KOZILEK and one-shotted people many times. So,
do you think this is worth? Is there another deck that you would run this in, like CMC 6+ tribal? I'm trying to think.
As you were talking about it, I started running through my head, like, okay,
yeah,
I probably have more equipment decks than other people in our play group. What other deck would I consider this in?
Right.
I don't think I have one, to be honest.
Well, and I think it's like to that point, if you're running an equipment deck, the point is to have super efficient, low-costed creatures that you then slap the equipment onto.
Yeah.
So this doesn't really make a lot of sense in that. Like, this doesn't make sense to equip on your 3-drop commander when you could just do.
I mean, think about it. This is completely
Warhammer,
unplayable
right?
in Rograk.
Yeah. Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. It's horrible.
Hey, do you want to pay 4
Absolutely
and equip 4 for a 0/0?
Just think of the value.
The value.
Just think of the value.
All right. Well, I only have one left, and this one, I like it, because we all know what Menace is. Well, how about when you have to be blocked by 3? And it also has Annihilator 3. We're talking about Pathracer of Ulamog.
Yes.
This is a cool 11 drop that is a 9/9, and it does creature Eldrazi, Annihilator 3, so you got to sack 3 permanents to the blocker. And then it can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures, and it does have some flavor text.
Okay, and we are coming up on Yold Professor of Crypto Religiosity, which is the Oprah Man, Adam Sandler's famed SNL
Opera
character.
Man. I was like,
Opera
Man. When did Adam Sandler do blackface? I think I would have heard about that, and he would have been canceled by now.
Oh my God! Have you seen the Jimmy Fallon doing an impression of Chris Rock in
I saw that a
blackface?
long time ago.
Oh, it's so bad.
But the funny thing is, Chris Rock was even like, I don't care, whatever. Anyways,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like I got bigger fish to fry.
so do I just sing like a overly obnoxious opera singer?
Yeah, like an opera guy. Yeah.
No strategy, but destruction!
Good God.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyways, it is an 11 drop, so it's very expensive, but it is a 9. It's going to take out 3 permanents, and they're going to have to throw 3 creatures in the way if they want to kill it. So it's probably your most efficient red zone creature in the deck.
Yeah, and it's still $3 for whatever reason. Completely agree. Like extra menace. This is another great target for Hedron Archive to put this thing up to a 20 for 4 mana. That's what I'm saying. They already killed your commander. You get him out. It's just a beating. All these different guys are just so strong. Gotta have them in the deck, but hopefully you can get around to casting them.
You almost had it. It's like you got to have them all, but hopefully you get around to catching them all.
Oh, damn it. You got me licked today. Something's wrong with my brain.
All right, Tuck. Well, you got 2 left. Why don't you give it to us?
We're gonna go with the fun one and then the boring one, and I am gonna have to get the name picker rolling before I go to it. I want to know how early in the deck building it that you put in Emrakul the Promised End.
The very beginning.
Okay, very good. I'm proud of you because some people think it's a little too cute, but I disagree. So
it's extremely cute.
It's so good
but
though.
I mean, you kind of have.
There's
Look, if it wasn't so powerful on the body, it would have been in the spice section. But it's so powerful on the body.
There's arguments to be made. So Emrakul the Promised End is a 13/13 for 13. That's a mythic that costs 4 times 13. Nope, damn. So close on that. It's about $42. And it's a legendary creature Eldrazi. And it says, Emrakul the Promised End costs 1 less to cast for each card type among cards in your graveyard, which is great for all your fetch lands and all that sort of thing to lower that down. When you cast Emrakul, you gain control of target opponent during that player's next turn. After that turn, that player takes an extra turn. Downer, but what are you going to do? Flying, trample, protect it from instants. It's going to punch you right in and around the nose. And there is a little bit of flavor text here by Nyrex, the Slipfinger Master Thief, which is Kermit the Frog. Or also, I watched a lot of New Girl when I was recovering from my week in Chicago. Also kind of sounds like Jessica Day. An enigma, as vexing as life itself. I'm Kermit. Where's Miss Piggy?
Kermit the Pug here.
God, it's so much better. I can see your point on the spice, because if you're going to play this card to its most efficient, you need ways to prevent people from taking extra combats, or taking the extra turn, rather. But the fact that you can still dictate them, tap them down, screw with them, at least make them discard a card, maybe, make some bad blocks into you.
Tapping them down doesn't do anything, because they just get a turn after that.
I know, but you can tap, rampant growth, fail to find, attack all your creatures into your Eldrazi, kill them.
Sure.
It's cute, but it's not near as backbreaking as it could be in other decks. But still, I think in this deck you have to have this in here. Like another great Hedron Matrix target, right? With the trample and the flyings and all that.
Curious, you run this in Muldrotha?
I've thought about it.
Because you can cast it from the graveyard. It would cost 7 less most of the time.
Yeah.
Or no, true. I guess it wouldn't be. It'd be 5 less because you wouldn't have instants or sorceries in there, right?
True. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's a Primal Surge deck.
Yep. I run this in my current Vile Smasher deck, because that has all sorts of things, and being able to plot this out for 13 and shotgun someone in the face for it is a little cute.
I was more thinking of because you sacrifice this, it goes to the graveyard, you then cast it with Muldrotha.
Oh, get it back
and then you do it again, and then you basically just lock people out of the game.
You take everyone's turn for the rest of the game.
Turn it into like a true Mind Flayer deck. But yeah, no, Emrakul, it's a fine card. If you didn't get a 13/13 with flying, trample, protection from instants, and probably only casting it for, let's just call it 8.
Yeah.
And taking control of someone else's turn, it would be a spice. But it's like, even with just the flying, trample, protection from instants 13/13, if it didn't have the middle part, I would still have it as a Yeast, because it's still a badass card.
Yeah. And
there's just too much on it to consider it not a game-breaking type of effect.
Completely agree on that. It was my commander, my RIP colorless deck as well. So it's got definitely a special place in Big Tuck's Cold Dead Heart.
All right. Well, Tuck, what is your last yeast card?
We have another ginormous Eldrazi, your only 12 drop in the deck. If that betrays, we can go through this one pretty quick. $15. Why are these all so expensive?
Well, this one's expensive because it can actually steal commanders.
Yeah. Oh, good point. So 12 mana for an 11/11 Annihilator 2, and we didn't talk about Annihilator somehow. I guess on Eldrazi
No, we
Description.
did. Yeah, we talked about it
We're
earlier.
good there. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent, put that card onto the battlefield under your control. And we do have a little quick bit of flavor text here, which is the Nature Tour guide that I still have nightmares from when I was a child. And here we go. And if you look to the right of the card, you'll see a giant Eldrazi monster. It's currently taking control of my brain and telling me to tell you, your pleas for death shall go unheard.
Oh my god, I just noticed the art of the chick or the person on the left.
Yeah, with the arrow
They have
through
an
its
arrow
neck.
through the throat. Their soul is leaving their eyeballs.
It's
Good
bleak.
God.
It's a bleak one.
Very bleak.
I think this works in a lot of different ways. 11/11 Annihilator is good enough on its own, right? That's insanely strong in and of itself. But I think there, especially with like Innistrad coming up, there's a lot of Sacrifice Matters decks, right? Like Muldrotha, for example. This card would destroy that deck. Like I don't know if I could beat this in there, right? Aristocrats, mono black decks, vampires, zombies that are going to be super popular. There's going to be a lot of
Fetch
things.
lands.
Yeah, absolutely, right? It is a huge price point to get out, but once you do, this is definitely one of the more game warping beaters in the deck, on top of it just being just this giant, horrible monster that's unstoppable.
Yeah, you're completely right. There was actually a game where I had It That Betrays out, and someone else had Butcher of Malakir.
Oh,
And I was
God.
actually able to like work and stack the triggers in a way that I still kept everything at the end of it.
Nice.
It was awesome.
That's amazing.
It was so cool. So yeah, If That Betrays, absolutely game warping. This is a card that I think you could make an argument if you're in a slower meta. It's kind of a standard for EDH decks.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in that more battle cruisery type lane where a 12 drop can be cast because you're doing that longer game.
Yep.
I get it, $15 is a lot of money, but man, having an If That Betrays in your decks is going to be so powerful.
Yeah.
But, if you're not in that battle cruisery style, then it does need to be in the right deck.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I completely agree with that. See also the one where it enters the battlefield and you get a creature back from your graveyard. I can't remember what that's called off the hand. Artisan of KOZILEK, I think. So, yes, agreed on that point.
All right, well, that's going to wrap up the East section. Now we're going to head over to the Spice and Big Tuck. What do you got?
There's one card in here that struck fear in every pre-release player, every standard player, and every modern player for the second year that I played Magic, which is when Battle for Zendikar first came out. And I played against someone that had two of these in their pre-release, and no one could beat them. They were unstoppable. It's a lowly 4-drop, and it's not as great in a 4-player format, but still well worth having in the deck. Thought, not seer. Ooh, it's spooky, the Eldrazi.
Yeah, I remember this just owning in the Pro Tour.
It's unreal. 3 colorless and another diamond, another colorless. I hate it so much. For one set, they threw off everything for the rest of Magic with no turnaround. So it's a
This is
creature
still
Eldrazi.
$5. Wow.
Yeah. It's a 4/4 for 4, so right on curve. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose a non-land card from it and exile that card. Then when it leaves the battlefield, target opponent draws a card. So in some way, this is like reverse Solemn Simulacrum.
Yeah.
Right? You go grab something, and I think some people are like, oh, Commander's a 4-player format. Blah, 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 blah. I'm going to go cry myself to sleep. The fact that it's not discarded, it's exiled, there's going to be someone that has tutored, that has been drawing a gazillion cards, that is going to be wanting to use one of their cards from their hand to win the game. And you're going to be able to, I think you and I have been playing long enough where we can pretty much telegraph that from a decent distance away. And this just being able to rip it out unconditionally, that leaves you a body, and then an opponent drawing a card is meaningless. So it's definitely a spice because it doesn't really further the game. You can't win with it, but it does have that interaction piece into it, which I think is very valuable in a deck with colorless deck that has no interaction outside of a handful of cards.
Yeah, so this is on the cutting block.
Okay,
unfortunately.
all right.
Yeah, no, it's for 4 mana.
It's too cute.
Too specific to leave in the deck.
Yeah.
I mean, at least Sad Robot, which I noticed I don't even have in the deck.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Yeah, at least with Sad Robot, I'm netting a land and a card for 4.
Yeah.
This, I'm only netting. I'm not even netting a card. I'm actually. I'm going down a card, netting my opponent 0. So yeah, but you know it's funny, Tuck. I was just sitting here thinking at my degenerate self. Infinite combo with Thought Not Seer and any type of blink. You just blink it infinitely. You literally you would end your turn with your opponents having drawn their entire deck and only having lands in their hand.
Is this the backup to? Oh, I can't even put it in Breya yet. Damn it! That's a backup. Like, guys, I promise I won't go infinite with Breya. All right, Thought Not Seer.
All right. Well, my spice isn't as sexy as Tuck's. It's kind of meat and potatoes, but I have it in spice because it's one of my utility lands. I think this card is really good. It just needs to be like the payoff. I need to be happy no matter what.
Yeah.
So Haunted Fingraph, I think, is one of those potential cards. It's a land. It taps to add a colorless. It's only a dime. But 3 colorless tap, sack it, return a creature card at random from my graveyard to my hand. So it is nice because it is 2-hand. This is actually one of the few decks you don't want it to be straight to the battlefield because I want to get cast triggers off the Eldrazi. But the at random, like, it's going to feel real bad. You know, I just keep beating up on it. But KOZILEK's Channeler over Ulamog, the Infinite Yair. Like, that's really going to suck. And I get it. Every deck is going to have duds for something like this. I think the issue that I have with this deck is I don't really have a middle. I don't really have a midsection. It's either we are very high-end with 7 drops with backbreaking effects or 13 13s, or we're very, very low-end where it's a mana dork. I don't have a lot of the in-between. So I think if I had more in-between, I think this would probably just be in the grain section, but I think for spice, it may have a home.
Yeah. I got you. Yeah. If you played this in a 4-color deck, I would be like, you're out of your damn mind, right? But to your point, here's another thing. If it came into play tapped, I would even then be like, in this build, is a waste better? But the fact that it comes into play untapped, you do have creatures that matter. There's no downside to it, right? Like, it plays into Crucible Worlds, right? That's like your sub-theme to it. So I would put this... I see where you're at with the spice. I almost think that this would be potentially like a hops pick. I guess it just depends on how often you think you're going to monster mash your own graveyard, right?
Yeah.
And there was a little bit of flavor text that you missed, but I'm going to give you a hint. You will not need to read it with this voice.
Hodor.
It was Pikachu, but sure, same thing.
No, it's the same thing.
Same idea. The next clue is gonna be it is in fact a Pokemon.
Well, guys, that's going to wrap up the spice section. Now we head into the bottle capping. And as a reminder, these are going to be BigTuck's and nice cuts and adds to the deck that are going to be under $5, under $50, and a no-budget ad. We just can't talk about mana-only lands. All right. I'm going to start this off with my under $5.
Okay.
Thought Not Seer going bye-bye.
Yeah.
Just kind of talked about it. It's just a little too specific. And I think if it was cheaper, or if there was even a way that, like, I could pay its casting cost and be able to bounce it back to my hand to maybe be able to reuse it, then okay, I can see a little bit, but it just doesn't have anything. So
if it was 6 or 5, like what if it was a 5/5 for 5? And it said each opponent.
Probably still want to run it in this deck because I'm not doing enough ETB stuff to be able to at least do it again for 5. Yeah. And because my deck isn't... That'd be kind of like me running Alter the Brood in a deck where I only play, like, a handful of permanents.
I get you, yeah.
Well, I guess... All right. So here's what we're going to add, though. Brand new card.
Ooh.
Quasi-hot off the presses. Eye of Vecna.
Oh, okay.
2 colorless.
Okay. This was
legendary artifact. You can pick one up for under 50 cents, or I can get the version 24 243A, that's apparently $72. Good God. When I have Vecna enters the battlefield, I draw a card and lose 2 life.
Yeah.
So basically, I pay 2 life, I net a card. Okay. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may pay 2 colorless if you do draw a card and you lose 2 life. Now, I get it. Mr. Combo's very anti-overpaying for card draw. And to me, this is still overpaying for card draw, because I'm paying 2 mana, 2 life to get a card slot in my deck to net 1 card. But go with me here. Tuck has talked about it a few times, where it's like, if I don't seem to get my commander out, I just kind of fizzle. The reason is my commander is my card draw engine. It's what enables me to draw cards. Where I usually stall is when I keep those risky hands. I get a couple mana just to get started, but I never see another mana rock, or I never see another land. So I'm looking at Eye of Vecna is I can cut Thought-Knot Seer. That's only going to put one opponent down 1 card for a temporary time until they draw another off of Thought-Knot Seer.
Yeah.
Or for the same mana investment, I'm actually going to draw 2 cards myself. So I don't know how sweaty this is to you, Tuck, but I feel Eye of Vecna makes a lot of sense in here when I need at least one other way to draw a card somewhat on demand.
I think you had me sold from the time you said the card, to be honest with you, because we just talked about how a lot of times you're going to be like, oh, I play a mana rock. Pass. Nothing to do, right? Even when you untap, you're like, I got nothing to do with it anyways, right? Next turn, I'm going to play 2 more mana rocks and have 2 mana floating or whatever. So I know that you're against this, and I think a good comparison to this would be Mind's Eye, right? Where Mind's Eye is completely dependent on other players. You're not playing it at sorcery, or you're playing at sorcery speed for this deck, right? So the fact that you have the choice to dump the mana into it, you have the fact that it's an artifact which plays into your other stuff, right? It might even come out even cheaper than it already is. I'm sold on Eye of Vecna in this deck big time, right? People are going to be attacking you. Your life total effectively doesn't matter in this deck, so it's about as efficient as you can get in this deck for it.
But that's actually a fair question. Would you rather run Mind's Eye or if I have Vecna?
Vecna all day.
Okay.
Because it replaces itself immediately, and you can dictate the pace of when you want to do it, right? I think Mind's Eye is really good when you have a pile of mana over, but by the time you're getting down to your 5 drops, that's when you want to start hitting your Aldrazis, your bigger artifacts, your removal stuff. So the fact that this can come down turn 1 off a Soul Ring or a Mana Crypt, and now you have something to do every turn that's going to keep you going, I'm here for it.
Sweet. Well, Tuck, what's your under $5?
I'm kind of cheating here because I want your opinion on this one, because I don't know if it works, because this card was one I had in mind. What do you think about Quicksilver Amulet in this deck? So 4 colorless for an artifact, 4 colorless tap. You may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. It doesn't cast. So that... I know you have all the Titans that care about casting. Yeah. And I looked at your creature list, and you don't have that many. You have the top end ones, but you have so many mana rocks. Do you think that this is just inefficient for what you're trying to do? This is just a general question.
Oh.
This is just a general.
I wouldn't run it in the deck.
Too slow.
Yeah, it's more because the super top end, I want to cast almost all of them.
Agreed.
And like we just talked about, the deck's either very low to the ground or very high to the ceiling. So where Quicksilver Amulet could be helpful in that middle section, especially for some flash speed shenanigans, I think I'm already going to be like blown past that, and I need to be focused on other stuff.
I completely agree with you. I learned my lesson the hard way when I actually had this in my Eldrazi deck and dropped down KOZILEK, your commander, hoping to draw some cards, and they're like, "Oh, that doesn't work." And I was like, "Well, that was a waste of $8." Yep. All right. I guess we're good here. So I also talked about this card. I'm cutting Aldrazi Conscription. Like I said, I think that Hedron Matrix is just a better varietal of that. I don't think you need it as much. But one thing that I think you've done very well in here is you've chosen very specifically to have your mana rocks have utility stapled onto them, right? So a lot of times your mana rocks could be a removal, could be a draw spell, could be that sort of thing. Also, fresh off the presses, I think that Moonsilver Key is going to help you find those things that you need like crazy. So it's 2 colorless, so you're dropping your CMC off this by 6, which is quite a bit. It's an artifact, colorless tap, sacrifice it. Search your library for an artifact card with the mana ability or basic land card, reveal it and put it in your hand and then shuffle. So even though it's not to battlefield, which is fine. This is going to let you go find a waste if you need one, or if you need to draw some cards, you can go get your Hedron Matrix or Hedron Archive, right? If you need your removal, you can go get your Unstable Obelisk. Because you are running so many and have the choice of running so many different mana rocks, this is really going to help you out in a pinch if you just need to get, your Worn Power Stone, Soul Ring, whatever the case may be, or one of these removal or draw spells. This is going to give you the flexibility to go and do that.
Yeah. It's fine. That's actually been one of the cards that from Forgotten from Innistrad, Midnight Hunt, that everyone's very excited about. A lot of people are, talking this card up a lot. I just haven't been that excited about
Really?
it. I don't know why. Yeah,
Huh.
just it's very blah to me. Also, hot take, just the worser of the pair Moonsilvers. I think I'd rather have Moonsilver Spear than Moonsilver Key.
Oh, get those angels, those Angeles.
Angele.
All right, what's your under 50?
Under 50, Cut and Deceiver of Form. Sorry, just no.
Which one is
Six
that?
colorless diamond.
Oh,
Creature
sure, yeah.
Eldrazi. It's from Oath. It's a rare. It's an 8/8, so it is a big boy. At the beginning of combat on your turn, reveal the top card of your library. If a creature card is revealed this way, you may have creatures you control other than Deceiver of Form become copies of that card until end of turn. You may put that card on the bottom of your library. Here's why I want to cut it. On its surface, it sounds extremely powerful, and it is if everything can become copies of Bane of Balaged.
Sure.
But when they become copies of my legendaries,
Yeah, your Titans.
that's when it just destroys my board. Now, it is a May effect, so I don't have to do it. But there have been more times or not with Deceiver of Form that I flipped over the top card, and it's a 2/2, or it's a legendary. And it's like, well, you don't even have evasion of your own, so you offered me nothing.
Yeah. I can see that for sure.
Is kind of cool, I think. It's also a fairly new card from Strixhaven.
Wait a
Put
minute.
in the old.
Is it happen to be
What?
lost? Yeah, we are.
Wow.
So good.
All right. Well, before we go to mine, Tuck, what are you cutting for under 50? Because it looks like we've matched.
It's funny because I'm also cutting a spice. I'm cutting the other one. I'm cutting Eldrazi Mimic just because.
So I'm actually cutting that for my personal.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Rip the spice package. So Eldrazi Mimic is 2 colorless for 2/1. Whenever another colorless creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may change its base power and toughness. That creature's base power and toughness until end of turn. I like Eldrazi Mimic I like Deceiver of Form more than Eldrazi Mimic just because it's a beater, right? And you do have that chance that you could flip over into, your Pathrazers, Vulamogs, and that sort of thing. I see your point because you have no top deck manipulation. There's no top or anything along those lines.
Yeah.
But I think of the two of them, I went with Mimic just because it's smaller, honestly. Like, it's just a little guy.
And to add fuel to the fire, Mimic's only until, like Tuck said when he read it, until end of turn.
Yep.
I think Mimic might have a fighting chance if it was just, it has that base power and toughness.
Yeah.
Just forever.
Forever, yes.
And then it's your choice to change it to the next colorless creature if you wanted. Then I say, okay, sure. I would maybe keep it in here.
Yep.
But the fact that it's only till end of turn, it's like, great, you were 12/12 for a time. But now I guess not.
And I think the argument that people make is like, well, it's a 2-drop Eldrazi, and you're like, okay, sure, but you play this on turn 2, it dies to zombies, it dies to elves, it dies to a 1 mana
Lightning bolt.
earthquake, lightning bolt. So I think it doesn't really do what you want.
Yeah. Now, Wandering Archaic. I'll read the front. You take the back.
Perfect. Which does matter in this
5
deck.
colorless. Creature avatar. It's a rare. It's a 4/4. Whenever an opponent casts an instant or sorcery, they may pay 2. If they don't, I get to copy that spell, and I may choose new targets for the copy. Now, if I don't want to cast it for the creature side, and I want to cast it for its flip, Tuck, what would that be?
So you can get Explore the Vastlands, which is a 3-drop sorcery. Each player looks at the top 5 cards of their library and may reveal a land card or an instant or sorcery card from among them. Each player puts the cards they revealed this way into their hand and the rest on the bottom of their library in a random order. Each player gains 3 life.
So, why don't you talk about the Explore the Vastlands piece, and I'll kind of hit on the front piece.
Yeah. So I think that there is, when you play Eldrazi, I think people just have this like knee-jerk reaction that like, oh my god, he's playing an Eldrazi deck, we're all dead. And they don't realize that for the first 5 to 9 turns, you're not going to be doing a whole hell of a lot, right?
Yeah.
So I think the back end is going to be something that's going to pacify people and then also kind of give them maybe potential a little bit of advantage if they can get the instant and or sorcery for you. You do run a handful of them, but there's only like 10 that you can run that are this color that are any good. We'll get into that in a second. Yeah. So the fact that you can at least get a land drop for 3 seems pretty efficient. You have 35 in here. You're going to have ways to dig those up. Gaining 3 life is irrelevant when you're playing 11/11s. So that's why the back end in this, like I think a lot of times people don't play it for the back end, but I think it also has a lot of value in this deck too.
Yeah, I'd agree. Also key, it's a land card because we have so many utility lands.
Very
we
good
can
point.
grab anything that we need. Another point, there is 2 total instants and 1 total sorcery in the deck. So
For
definitely now, but you're definitely playing the Explore the Vast Lands. Think of it as like a 3 mana, hopefully top 5 rampant growth. That's what I'm really kind of hoping for. But, you know, we have enough lands that I think we can get there. But the other side is where I think we're going to have a lot more exciting things happen.
Oh, yeah.
So the fact that we only run 3 in the entire deck, like I've considered running Wandering Archaic in my Brutaclad deck.
Sure.
Because I would only run it for the front permanent side, but now it gives me access to instant and sorceries. And now opponents have to think, am I going to pay 2 for that? When have we heard that phrase used before, Tuck? Oh, I don't know. Smothering Tithe? How annoying does that go?
Ristic Study? Any of these things.
Yeah, well, I meant specifically the 2, because how often are people actually paying the 2? Hardly fucking ever.
Yeah.
So, how often are they going to pay the 2 here? Probably not that often.
And to that point, I think a lot of spell slingers, when they're playing, or decks that are playing instants and sorceries, they play them intentionally to be able to get them off at very specific times, right? Like, I'm playing Time Warp right now because I know that if I can get another turn, I'm going to be able to go off, but I have to spend all my mana to do it now, right? I have to spend all my mana now to tutor for these lands that then is going to enable me to go off. I think people play their instants and sorceries a lot tighter than they would creature spells, right? And I think they're not going to have the mana, or they're just not going to be able to pay for it because they need that thing to get them going. So yeah, I think Wandering Archaic, I know we talked about it on our Strixhaven not so accurate review. I have still not seen this ever played, which is kind of baffling to me. I think I have 1 copy of it. I don't even have it in a deck yet.
Well, it is $7.
It is $7. So. I paid a quality 9, so really took a bath on that one.
All right. Well, now we're going to move on to no budget. Mine, I'm cutting the Eldrazi Mimic. I already talked about it. It's just, you know, if it wasn't until end of turn, then I would do it. But we got that clause, so can't have it. All right, Tuck, I'm breaking the bank.
Oh my god.
I could get a copy for $161 or a gold bordered version for $41.33.
Wait. Is it a land?
No.
Is it an artifact?
Yes.
Grim Monolith?
No.
Damn it. All right, what do we got?
So, I got 32 of these in the deck, and that's why actually I think I should probably put it in here and own a copy eventually at some point. It is a part of Magic history.
Oh!
Metalworker.
Oh, God. We just talked about this last week.
3 colorless artifact creature. It's a rare. It's a 1/2. Tap, reveal any number of artifact cards in your hand, add 2 colorless mana in your mana pool for each card revealed this way.
Bonkers.
I got 32 of them, guys. I'm okay advertising what's in my hand if I'm going to get 10 mana to cast KOZILEK. So,
well, especially because yours, it's going to be like, okay, I'm tapping Metalworker, Worn Power Stone, Soul Ring, Eye of Vecna. Like, it's just going to be it's like all utility, Unstable Obelisk. And people are like, oh, okay, so in 2 turns he can do something? So, like,
and here's the other cool thing that I don't know if you thought of. I talked about it earlier. Usually you want to have an empty hand when you're casting KOZILEK.
Right.
That's the exact opposite with Metalworker, because Metalworker, you're only gaining mana off cards in hand. So this becomes the trade-off with Metalworker that I'm okay with. Either I have no cards in hand, I'm paying 10, 12, 14 mana, but I'm also drawing 7.
Yep.
Or I have cards in hand, and then KOZILEK only costs me 4 or 6. And yeah, I only get to draw 3 cards, but he also still only costs 4 or 6 for a 12/12 menace with counter effects stapled onto the body. So I know Metalworker is usually reserved for the artifact decks, but I think in a colorless deck, just like how Crucible of Worlds is usually only in landfall decks, I think this has a home in colorless because of all the utility that you have.
I know you don't have an artifact deck yet, and you said no to the one that I had an idea for because it was entirely too cute. I think this is inadvertently your artifact deck, right? Like, kind of?
I mean, I guess when you have 32 of something in the deck. I mean,
It
I do have
stacks
more
up.
artifacts than creatures, so.
Yeah, there you go. Certainly more than Eldrazi, but that makes sense.
All right, Tuck, bring us home. What are you cutting? What are you adding?
So I'm going to cut Wild Field Scarecrow.
What?
Yeah.
The Scarecrow?
The Scarecrow. It's got to go. 3 colorless for 1/4 defender. For 2 colorless, sack it. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Reveal them and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your library. I just don't like the fact that it's a 5 mana investment into putting cards into your hand. I like, you already have the Burnish Heart. I think Solemn Simulacrum's a better card than this as well. It's a defender, which is like some fringe benefit to you, but because you have stuff like Emrakul, the Promised End, and I think you want things that are a little bit more targeted. I have 2 cards that came out, and I'm gonna let you choose which ones that you want out of them. They're both out of Strixhaven, and they're both lessons. So the first one is Introduction to Annihilation. 5 colorless for a sorcery lesson. Exile target non-land permanent. Its controller draws a card. So if you need a little bit more targeted removal, drawing a card isn't anything that's too crazy for most decks. This is going to be for the same mana investment. You're going to be able to destroy something that someone controls. Unfortunately, it's at sorcery speed. The other one is another lesson, which does... I like that it does the same thing, just a little less for half the mana investment. You also have Environmental Sciences, which is 2 colorless for sorcery lessons. Search the library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. You gain 2 life. So I like the fact that it only costs 2. You don't have to put the mana investment into it. You're never going to attack with Wild Field Scarecrow. So either for the same mana, you're getting Premier Removal in these colors, right? I think we talked about Introduction to Annihilation during Strixhaven as well, of, again, just a 5-drop, remove anything on the board, minus lands, which, you have your Field of Ruins and whatnot. So you can either choose to get more removal, if that's what you think you're hurting for, or something that's a little bit more efficient and let you open up the rest of your turn for getting your land to hand.
So I hear ya. Now, here's the thing. I do really like the Introduction to Annihilation recommendation.
Yeah.
That's pretty great and solid.
It's so strong.
I would probably have to cut something else for that. I'm not too sure. I'd have to cut something else for it, because the one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to increase the CMC of the deck when we've already said the deck's very hot or cold. Whether it's either I can run it well or I have no mana. So I don't want to increase the CMC when I'm getting rid of a card that gets me lands. Yeah, so that's the one thing I'd have against that. But I think that I do agree that the card needs to go in the deck. So we'll have to find a home for it. But I want to focus more on the environmental sciences and just have a lively discussion with you. Just, friendly. Why would you rather pay 2 mana instantly, or not instantly, but one time
Sorcery,
done...
Yeah. Sorcery.
You get a waste to hand and gain 2 life, and you're done. Effect's over. Wouldn't you rather just pay 1 extra mana? Now you got a 1/4 blocker on the battlefield. And then when you feel like it, pay 2 to go get 2 basics and put them into hand. So it's like, yes, you're paying 3 more mana eventually at the end of the day, but you are netting 1 more land, and you get to kind of do it at your own pace at any point, because this doesn't even have the at sorcery speed clause.
I would rather be able to do 2 mana for environmental sciences and then use that 3 mana that you have left over, that's the net of what you're going to have to be doing that same turn, to play one of your mana rocks. Like, I think that's going to put you out further.
But you're never doing, if you're ever doing Burnish Heart or Wildfield Scarecrow in the same turn that you casted it, you're in trouble.
I agree with that. I agree with what you're saying with like that in terms of total mana investment. I just also like the fact that it's a sorcery, it's not a creature. So if there just happens to be a board wipe, you could get nothing out of it, right? At least with Solemn, you get something out of it. This one, you also get to do it at your own pace, right? So if you're flush with lands, you can hold on to this one. If you just need to scry, thin your deck out a little bit. That's why I like Environmental Sciences over Wildfield Scarecrow. If you had more ways to recur creatures or artifacts from your graveyard to the battlefield, it'd be a much easier discussion, right? Because then Wildfield Scarecrow is just that good. is just better. But the fact that you don't have a lot of ways to bring your artifacts back, and when you're bringing artifacts back, you want the ones that you really need and want. That's why environmental sciences still wins out over the Scarecrow to me. But I can see your point. I knew you were going to yell at me and have this lively discussion when I talked about the Scarecrow, but I'm standing by it. I definitely think Introduction and Annihilation is the better of the two, though. I'll agree with you on that.
And what I'll agree with is that we're at the end of the episode. And guys, leave a review. Follow us on YouTube, whatever audio platform. Share the content with your friends, family, grandma, estranged aunt that lives in Estonia. Just get the content out there. We'd like that 5-star. We want you to leave a comment. Let us know how either we can improve the comment or potentially even, continue what we're doing. Just kind of keep status quo if that's what you guys like. Now, if you'd like to get a hold of us, here's how you can do that. You can reach me at MrComboNumber5 on Twitter, all spelled out except for the 5. BigTuck, where could they reach you?
So Mr. Combo brought this up. I am at BigTuck tweeting on the Tweeterverse, and I posted a Magic the Gathering content this week, and it got retweeted several times, I'll have you know.
Whoa!
So Mr. Combo was right. We just got to get that content out there. Also, if you don't have Sword of Hearth and Home, grab one now. They're about $10.
Yeah, actually, it's funny. I was getting stuff for the Drinkathon today, and that card actually came up.
Threw a couple
and
in.
I could get the full art foil, I think, for $30.
Woo! Hell yeah!
And it's like, man, that's tempting, baby. That is tempting.
Put it in your God's deck. There you go.
Yeah, I guess. You can reach our main account at CMD Tower on Twitter as well. We will have a article and deck list posted at cmdtower.com/BNBE111. Basically, all you have to do is type in Conduit of Ruin, Mirage Mirror, Dreamstone Hedron, Tower.com. If you would like to get a hold of our amazing video editor and audio editor for this Brews and Builds episode, definitely hit up @_tcoats on Twitter. Tyler is an integral part of the team. Like I said, he does all video editing here at CMD Tower, and specifically the audio for Brews and Builds. So if he can work with your content channel on a project, please hit him up. Now, if you would like to help us out financially, you should head over to our Patreon, patreon.com/CMDTower. We offer tons of awesome stuff on there, like we've talked about throughout the episode. Big one is gonna be that Christmas sweater. Anyone that is a patron will be getting a discount on these sweaters because it's very, very, very nice, and they're very, very, very expensive. Plus, you guys also will be getting discounts. We're going to be coming out with our Brews and Builds foil playmat soon. So if you're an existing Brews and Builds member, you'll be able to pick one up pretty damn cheap compared to anyone trying to buy it off the streets.
And I can confirm.
Now there's some redacted.
Real quick, I did get that thing. Those sweaters look awesome. Those are going to be so sick.
Well, I'm glad you like it.
Yeah,
I'm glad you like it. It's yeah, they're pretty awesome. Mr. Magoo did the design for us last year. Just we got the process rolling too late, and so hopefully the sweater sample will be delivered by the time I get back from Italy. And now I guess a week and a half's time from this recording. So Big Tuck, Brews and Builds, KOZILEK doesn't believe in watercolors. I know that you weren't I remember specifically when you and I first started doing Brews and Builds, before, we had Action Forward News or Redacted Reviews or any of this other stuff. Specifically, you told me a couple things. Mr. Combo, we're never talking about my Nekuzar deck, or never ever going to talk about, a CEDH deck. We've done both of that. And then the other was, I will never in hell talk about our colorless decks. You can go to hell, find someone else for those episodes. Well, Big Tuck, it just took a little over 2 years, but you did the colorless episode.
I like these decks just fine. I've seen it in action. I think it's good. I think your points of being like, it makes sense why this is in the bottom of your rotation, if you will. I'm guessing this won't be appearing during the Drinkathon. Oh God,
Absolutely
no.
not.
So yeah, no, it's fun. I think that these colorless decks are very hard just out the gate, right? Because all the things that you want to cast cost a million, so you have to kind of play this artifact theme to it. But I do like, I think the smart thing to pull away from this, if you're listening to it, is don't get suckered into just running 4 waste, 2 waste, 3 waste, whatever. I think that's something that your deck does really well and efficiently, is just hitting land drops, having ways to pull out basic lands and that sort of thing. So I think that's a really big aspect of this deck that's very well built.
Yeah, I think part of this, because, when I went through and updated the list online, I mean, when I had last done this deck, I hadn't even put it in the grain, hockey, spice categories yet, so that tells you how long ago it was. I think when I went through, there was like 12 cards that had changed from the last time I did the list. Even talking today, there's 5 or 6 cards I should definitely enter into the deck to make it feel any different. So, maybe it is one of those things that I haven't played the deck in so long. I put in these 5 or 6 cards. Metalworker's probably a stretch. I'm not going to go spend $161 on a card for a deck that I
But you only need to
play.
spend 40. Gold border, baby.
Yeah, not doing that. That's against the rules. So, I definitely think, though, if I put in those 5 or 6 on top of the 12 that I swapped out, it probably would actually have a different feel to it than probably my last memory. But, it's a deck. I'm hell-bent on my path to 32, and this fulfills a requirement of said path to 32.
You're not a coward like me who rips apart decks once I don't like them.
No, absolutely not. Well, guys, hope you enjoyed the episode. I'll catch Schlazier.
Slazier.
Kind of sounds like Schrader.
Blaze.